So the Supreme Court is now hearing two gay marriage cases. One...
Cases.
They're hearing a case that challenges the rulings of Section 3 of DOMA, saying that basically that's unconstitutional. And most people have felt that that was going to happen. Legal experts expected this, and most LGBT experts also feel that they will win this case, that this is something that they will prevail on.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When something is ruled unconstitutional and you don't like that ruling, can you call it unconstitutional?
Well, you should. And that is how they're going to do it in the case.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. And they don't bleep in the Supreme Court. Thank God. Those people have the filthiest mouths. But not many people thought that the court would hear the Prop 8 case. Right. Which is...
No on H8.
Exactly. The Prop 8 case was the gay marriage case in California. Prop 8 won, which means that you could not get married in the state, and that couples, it was legal for a while and then became illegal and stayed illegal.
Whatever happened? So people who did get married, that was still...
They're still married.
Okay.
So like Ellen DeGeneres, for instance, got married when it was legal. She is still legally married in the state of California, but you cannot get married now in the state of California. It was such a fuck you. So anyway, they're hearing this case, and anti-gay activists are super pumped about this because it was in other words, if the court hadn't heard the Prop 8 case, gay marriage would have been legal in California again because of the other rulings that had happened since the election since 2008.
So basically, if the Supreme Court doesn't want to hear it and it's reached them, then it just like defaults to the lower court's decision.
Exactly.
Right?
And so gay marriage would have been really immediately legal. And so people were really even kind of hoping that they wouldn't hear this because things could get really bad. The ruling could end up doing a lot of damage and is making a lot of people afraid. So it's possible that the court could hand down a sweeping decision that would uphold marriage bans in over 30 other states, ruling that marriage is not a fundamental right for gays. And if you're afraid of that, according to Michelangelo Signorelli of Huffington Post, who's brilliant, he said then you should be very afraid because that could have a really broad and enduring impact. So that is absolutely one of the possibilities in this, is that they uphold these bans and say marriage is not a right for a gay person. So it actually seems more likely that the Supreme Court would go that way than it would throwing out marriage bans across the country. In other words, saying like you can't ban
So it's
marriage.
more likely they're going to ban marriage.
Exactly. That they would say they would uphold all those things. And
why not just make it a state issue?
I know. And see, it would be really, I think the country's about ready for it to be a national issue, for it to just be a federal law.
No, I agree. But if they're going to vote that way, I don't think it's representative of how a majority of the Americans feel about gay marriage. And kids, this is why you have to vote, because you young people who don't have to worry about Botox like I do. I worry about Botox. I worry about Botox attacking me, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand. So this is a real problem.
A real problem. But what I'm saying is young people want gay people to get married.
Yes.
So take 5 minutes and go to the ballot box, please.
Absolutely. Pound on those doors. Fight for your rights but don't fight for your right for gay marriage, but do continue to fight for your right to party.
Yeah.
Because you do have that right.
You know what? I don't care what you do. I don't care if you go to a frat house and you try to get in a frat and you let them put a paddle in your butt.
Yeah.
I don't care
I think they slap you, but I don't think they actually put it in your
butt.
butt.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, there was a very famous Law and Order SVU.
Oh, I see.
Where a gentleman was splintered in his butt from a paddle, and they found it in the sewage system because it had been thrown in the sewers. So that's how they had the evidence. And then a book came out that had all the logs of everyone who'd been abused. And then the girlfriend came out and she was like, I'm really sorry, I lied. And then Mariska Hargitay was, very, how she does that stern look? She was doing a lot of stern looks in this episode. But that's why I'm saying that it is very, very, very real that this kind of thing happens. And we can all thank Law and Order SVU for educating us.
Well, there we go. Another possible outcome of this, which had nothing to do, unfortunately, with Mariska Hargitay, I know, I'm sorry.
I don't know if I can even hear it.
Another possible outcome is that they just affirmed the Ninth Circuit Court's ruling, which means basically that it would only apply to California. That they would say, fine, gay marriage can happen in California, but nowhere else.
I mean, the fact that they're meeting and it's the holidays, it worries me.
It does. It worries me too. And I guess what's so confusing, and I know I mentioned this at the beginning, is why they decided to take it up at all. Really, it just may have been better had they not. And this is from Huffington Post. They say, it's very confusing. It only takes 4 justices to decide to take a case. Did the 4 most conservative justices believe they could get Justice Kennedy's swing vote? Or did the 4 liberal-leaning justices decide to take it up thinking they'd in fact get Kennedy? Or did all 9 justices believe they needed to take up the case for various reasons? We don't know, and the legal experts have been wrong on this issue and many others, so don't put much stock in speculation. But what is kind of exciting is that we all know that public opinion is shifting pretty rapidly. This is a quote from George Will, who is a big conservative pundit, and he was on ABC's This Week on Sunday, and he was
what a dumb
discussing-
name for that show.
I know.
I wish they would change it. It's so hard to say
earlier this week. Go fuck yourself. So
well, depending on what kind of calendar you use, if you start your calendar on a Monday, then it's last week. Do you know what I mean?
Good point. So George Will had some interesting things to say about it. You remember he's a conservative, and he said, this decision by the Supreme Court came 31 days after an election day in which 3 states for the first time endorsed same-sex marriage at the ballot box. Now, the next question is, how will that influence the court? It could make them say it's not necessary for us to go here. They don't want to do what they did with abortion. The country was having a constructive accommodation on abortion, liberalizing abortion laws. The court yanked the subject out of democratic discourse and embittered the argument. They may say, we don't want to do that. We can just let the democracy take care of this. On the other hand, they could say it's now safe to look at this because there's something like an emerging consensus. Quite literally, and this is kind of a huge thing for a conservative like George Will to say, quite literally, the opposition to gay marriage is dying. It's old people. Hate old people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.